The Poseidon Adventure is a disaster movie directed by Ronald Neame, released in 1972.
Not particularly unknown, but
No, why are we doing it?
Because it's set a new year.
Yeah.
So
Happy New Year.
Hopefully you don't go on a capsized boat.
No, don't do that. Or drink on a boat.
No. What?
I don't know.
Drink too much and fall off a boat. Is
Yeah,
that what you mean?
Certainly don't do that.
So it's a disaster movie. As you're probably aware, the boat is called the Poseidon. It is on its final voyage, filled with lots of passengers getting merry on New Year, when it's hit by a great big wave after a sort of undersea earthquake, which causes a tidal wave, as is quite common when that sort of thing happens, which knocks the boat over and it goes upside down. It's an ensemble cast with Gene Hackman in the lead as Reverend Scott, who kind of takes charge of the situation, and you've got Ernest Borgnine as a police detective. Various other characters. You've got Red Buttons in there and Roddy McDowall, Shelley Winters. Leslie Nielsen's in it a little bit as well, in a straight role, which is always a bit odd to watch. Obviously, you get a little bit of setup with getting to know these characters and what their background is and stuff. A little bit of character development for the first few minutes. And then once the boat gets flipped, it's then, sort of fight for survival. And obviously they're in sort of the dining room or the ballroom. They're all, obviously, the boat is upside down, so they're all on the ceiling. And there's no doors on the ceiling. There are a crew on, in the room, and they're like, oh no, we should stay here and wait to be rescued. Gene Hackman's like, no, I'm not doing that. We're now at the bottom of the boat. We need to get up to the bottom of the boat, which is now on the surface.
To the galley we'll get to, don't know. Is that all right?
Yeah. Then it's the engine room, a boiler room.
There's a child on board, and he seems to know exactly, because he's turned up in the bridge. I'm not really into boats. I don't know much about it. He goes to the bridge where Leslie Nielsen is at the beginning of the film. And because he's done that, he now knows everything there is to know about boats.
He does have a tour, I think, by somebody.
Oh, he does, yeah, okay.
He's shown the engine room and things like that.
All right, but he knows that there's
the steel near the propeller is a lot thinner than other places on the hull.
That's why they need to go there. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So then that's where whoever's going to mount a rescue, that's where they're going to come in. So that's where they want to get to. Because the boat is only going to sit, keep sinking, and the water is going to keep rising. See, there's lots of back and forth and arguments about, who's right and who's wrong. And Gene Hackman, his character is quite arrogant, to be fair, considering he knows absolutely nothing about boats.
And he's a priest as well. Yeah.
It's like, this is what we're doing, and I'm not taking no for an answer. So a few people, all the main cast members obviously go off with him to try and make their way up.
Yeah, because he can't convince any of the extras to go.
No.
All the extras stay behind, but the main cast, funny that.
Yeah, they all stay behind.
I'd rather not be an extra, please.
No. I want to go with Gene.
Yeah, you're not being paid enough. You just stay there.
It's every room, every new area they come to is a challenge to kind of like a video game.
Crystal Maze.
Yeah,
Crystal Maze, isn't it?
There's a challenge to get, there's fire to get by, or there's an underwater section they have to swim through, unsteady gantries they have to climb across, pipes to go through, and all sorts of dangerous situations. And obviously, as they go along, members of the group start to perish in various ways, as is the norm for these sort of films. So it's I think it's a bit of a classic in the disaster.
Yeah, so disaster movie territory, which you don't get that often anymore.
No.
I suppose the recent recent person would be Roland Emmerich with his
Day After Tomorrow, 2012,
which I actually have to say I quite enjoyed. They were dumb and they were fun. I've always liked it. Yeah, everyone likes a good disaster movie, and there's a lot of them. Obviously, in the 70s, everyone thought they were going to die, and they were lost. But there were so many of them in the 70s.
Well, there was.
My favourite personally was I always loved Towering Inferno.
Yeah,
that was almost like, I think, possibly the best one, because it's got this great actors. They had great actors in these films. They always got their big A-list stars. Towering Inferno, you've got Paul Newman and Steve McQueen. going off at each other. And again, I mean, that's where this is similar. It's like a macho 70s men.
Yeah.
Gene Hackman and Ernest Borgnine, who are known for being quite rough, big men. And, Towering Inferno, you've got Steve McQueen and Paul Newman. Again, these two, kind of... I mean, that was hilarious because I think those two actors were quite... each one wanted... I think there was a bit of a fight on who got top billing on that film. I think they both got the same billing. And then you've got films like Earthquake, Meteor... I mean, this was produced by Irwin Allen, who I think did a lot of those.
Well, I think after, Poseidon Adventure completely swamped the box office, made, millions of dollars. And, I mean, I think the studio didn't really want to make it at first. It had quite a sort of troubled production at first. And I think he suddenly had funding pulled at the last minute. And had to go to some friends, in Hollywood, say, can you put up some money for this movie? Yeah, and unfortunately they did, and he made it, and it made, tons and tons of money for him, and he was then from then on known as the master of disaster. Right. So he then made Earthquake.
I love that name.
And I think he made some TV movies, one which was called Flood, and another one called Fire, and I think he made The Swarm. People think he made a lot more disaster movies than actually did, like Earthquake. I think a lot of people think he had something to do with that, but he didn't. And then he returned to Poseidon with Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, which had Michael Caine in it, and of course that is then the opposite, basically the opposite of the original, where rather than trying to get out of the boat up to the hull at the bottom, they're then trying to get in the boat because there's like some treasure or something. I can't remember what they're after. I saw it on the TV years and years and years ago. It's not particularly held in high regard as much as the original.
So in that one, the original survivors have got off the boat, helicopter's gone. And then they come in and what?
Basically, I think the helicopters even pass in the air. I think maybe I can't remember. It basically takes place immediately after the original one ends because the boat obviously is not going to stay afloat forever. So
because I kept thinking because I'd never seen Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, and you told me about it the other day when we decided to do this one, and I kept thinking when we got to the end of this film, I thought, wouldn't it be great if these, they've made it, and then the hatch opens. And in come some bad guys and just kill them off because they want to get some treasure. That'd be perfect end to a movie. I've just completely given away the end of the film. But if you've seen one disaster movie,
well, it's a given that somebody's going to survive, isn't it? So we just won't say.
I won't say who survived. No.
It's a bit of a classic, and obviously it was remade. I think it's 2006.
Twice. Well, it was remade with Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
But then I found it was actually done. There was a TV version of it.
Yeah, and that was the year before, weirdly. Reading the synopsis of it, I mean, I don't think it's particularly well reviewed. I don't think it's supposed to be particularly good, but it's also somehow a terrorist managed to make the boat capsize. How that happens, I don't know, but I have to watch it. But the cast sounds good, but I don't think the finished product is supposed to be that amazing. I don't
because again, I mean, I think it's ridiculous, but in a way, it's because this was so you got this massive wave, and I was reading that I think it's known as a freak wave, which apparently in the 70s or around that period they used to think kind of occurred like once every 50,000 years, but apparently now we realise that no, it could actually happen at any time. So gutted if you happen to be in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and one of these massive waves come along, you're going to find yourself in your very own Poseidon adventure. Yeah. So it's interesting how science changes over the years, and it's a lot of fun. This movie, it's completely nuts. I love Gene Hackman. Yeah. We did Scarecrow this year. It's a dumb, silly film. It's very cliche, obviously. A lot of these films were. But one disaster movie I really like, and this one seems to, or that one seems to possibly be inspired by this one because of some of the things that happen in it, is Daylight, the Stallone one. Which is, he's in a tunnel under New York and the floods, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think, some sort of explosion
in
the tunnel collapses.
The tunnel collapses, that's right. And that's got this similar, possibly because water, maybe. That's probably why it feels familiar.
I'm sure there's also a section where they have to swim through.
There is a swimming through. Yeah. But I think also the characters in Daylight, to me, similar. I mean, you've got, in this so Ernest Borgnine is a policeman, and he's... He saved his wife from a life of prostitution on the streets of New York.
Yes.
And so she's there, and they've kind of got, they're almost a bit, they clearly love each other, but there's a bit of infighting going on there. They're kind of, but they also might like the comedy, that's where the humour lies with those two. Gene Hackman is where the kind of the worry and the pain and the fear and the whole do I believe in God and all that kind of stuff is clearly going on with that. And then you've also got the Shelley Winters. Oh, and Jack Albertson, who obviously we talked about in Dead and Buried.
Yeah.
They're an older couple. So they're like the couple that's have loved each other for many, 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 many years and really don't want the other one to die. So they're kind of, that's that. And then you've got the two kids who are just kind of annoying. And we are in the 1970s, so of course you've got all these very young women with much older men. So Red Button's is this kind of an odd character who falls in love with this woman who's lost her brother. But the age difference, whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, even the sister of the brother kind of has a bit of a thing for Gene Hackman.
She does,
yes. Like, where's this going?
And the women don't have a lot of clothes on.
No, one of them.
Because
and in fact, I love that scene is when they're trying to get out of the dining hall, where they've had the party, and they find because it was close to Christmas still, it's New Year. They've got a Christmas tree that they put up. There's a door in the corner which I think is going to go into the kitchens or something. There's a guy up there, all the way up there, and he's like, "You can come through this way." Although he vanishes. What happens to him?
That's Roddy McDowall.
That's Roddy McDowall, isn't it? That's right. Of course it is. Anyway, so he's up there, and so they put this Christmas tree up that they can climb up, and obviously they send the kid up there to go first because he can scramble up there quickly. And then Gene Hackman tells the women they have to take their gowns off. But it's funny because he doesn't tell Shelley Winters to take her gown off, and she climbs up in her gown because obviously she's the older lady. Must be polite to the older lady, not so much to the young. It's just so sexist in those days.
It's of its time.
Of its time. So. Ernest Borgnine's wife was played by an actress called Stella Stevens, who was actually really great. And I couldn't think where I knew her from, and then I suddenly remembered that she was in Sam Peckinpah's The Ballad of Cable Hogue, which is as Jason Robards. But she's really good in it. But again, she's very young, and Ernest Borgnine is much older. But it's of its time, and it's great fun. I also love Ernest Borgnine. I think they play, him and Gene Hackman play so well off each other. Yeah. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, this movie.
Perfect sort of Sunday afternoon, chill out after your roast dinner.
It's exactly one of those films.
Yeah, they don't really make them like that anymore. I mean, obviously, like we said, there are... There's the odd disaster movie.
Well, they're too ridiculous now. Yeah. The Roland Emmerich stuff are fun, but they're too ridiculous.
I mean, The Rock has made a couple recently, San Andreas.
But again, they're just so... Because now, of course, we've got CGI, so we can make everything bigger and more explosive and more crazy.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Isn't it? Yeah.
So, but no, I think it's great. And do we have this on a DVD format or Blu-ray?
I've got a Blu-ray.
Oh, you got a Blu-ray.
I've got a nice steelbook. Can't remember where I got it or when, but it was probably in a sale.
Okay.
So, yeah, just the normal disc inside, but a nice shiny case, which I thought was quite nice.
Have anything nice on it?
Yes, it's got a commentary by Ronald Neame, and it's got some behind-the-scenes stuff. Some quite interesting stuff about Irwin Allen's struggle to get it to the screen.
Right.
The struggle getting the budget together and things like that. Some interviews with some of the actors. I think there's a commentary as well with some of the actors.
Cool. And I noticed it's John Williams' music as well.
Yeah, it is.
Early score by John Williams.
Yep.
It's got a great. I imagine it's probably from the original. It's a great picture, kind of classic 70s. Running away, and of course, because I didn't really speak about. You mentioned what happened in the film when the ship turns over. It's quite effective. There's this great moment because obviously, all the tables that are on the floor now are in the ceiling, and there's that sequence. It's a little bit Titanic, when
a little bit, yeah.
And all they're hanging from tables, and of course Titanic did they did that quite well. Whether you hate or love that film, the whole. When they were all crashing down, and I thought this was quite effective. But they do that classic. I don't know how they do it, but it's the great scene. When you're on a boat, and then the camera, and then they all they crash to one side, and then they crash to the other. It's a bit like they do on Star Trek, isn't it?
Yeah,
when the ship, you never know. Are they just the actors just crashing all over the place, or is the camera doing something?
I think it was a combination of them doing that, the camera moving, and also I think they built a set that did move as well, to a certain degree.
That's why, to me, and probably to a lot of people out there, the CGI has its place, and it's just so cool when you see how people got around problems.
Yeah.
to do on like in-camera effects before CGI came along and made it so it was too easy.
I mean, I think Irwin Allen figured a lot of it out, beforehand, exactly what he wanted from the scenes, and where the water was going to come in and what the stunts were going to be. And there are some, particularly in that scene when the boat first tips over, there's some great stunts. The guy, the people hanging from the tables, and there's one guy that falls into the glass below and things like that. That was done for real, by a stuntman, and it looks, it
looks terrifying.
Yeah,
it looks terrifying because they've done it, and it always looks much more terrifying in real life than it ever will do with CGI. Obviously CGI has its place. I'm not taking away from CGI, but I just think in certain circumstances,
doing it for real.
Does it for real is the way to go.
Yeah. So Blu-ray, not hard to pick up, and it's pretty much the same in every country that's been released in. Is all the same extras on it, so there's no sort of better version anywhere that I'm aware of.
But the sequel is hard to find, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I would have liked to have sort of done a double bill maybe with it because it's set, immediately afterwards. But it was released on DVD in the States and I think some other places as well. But it's not. I mean, you could find it, but I wouldn't have been able. We decided too late to do this, and I wouldn't have been able to get it in time. But it would have been about at least £10 to get a copy, and I don't know if it's quite worth it.
But you have seen it though.
I saw it on the TV years ago. I think I saw it before the original, before the first film.
Right. Okay.
So of course I wasn't quite sure what the hell's going on. Why are people trying to get into this boat? Why is this boat upside down? I don't understand. I can't remember what it is they're looking for, but or whether they find it. But I mean, as you can imagine, they encounter survivors that we didn't see in the previous film.
Oh, those ones that are going up the. That's a great scene where they come from somewhere and they see all these survivors, the other extras that did get away, weren't at the party. They're like going up this. They're trying to get to the officers' mess or bridge or whatever, and they're like, "No, damn it! There's more extras here. We're going to the other part of the ship that's not going to fail."
Even then, Gene goes, "Oh, well, that's underwater." It's like, well, how do you know? You don't know if it's underwater.
Yeah,
You've been there.
Amazing.
So finally, at one point, they do say, "Right, okay, we go this way, you go that way, and let's see who's right about what's the best way to go." And then they meet back up and decide.
Exactly. But, beyond the Poseidon adventure, where we get to see the extras that survived from Poseidon adventure.
Exactly.
Amazing. And on that note, we should wish you a happy new year. Don't get on any boats or things like that. Stay safe. Don't drink and drive. Have fun. 2020.
Woohoo!
Woo! Amazing. Anyway, so happy new year.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in the new year for some new films. Well,
yes.
Older films, but new old films. God, we do talk some rubbish on this channel sometimes, don't we?
You do, yes.
So that was the Poseidon adventure, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments below.
Hit the subscribe button up there, and don't forget to hit the bell for notifications. There's some other videos to check out over there. Come and find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and come back next week for another one.